No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show with Dave Manouk. With Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to talk tonight about the Winnipeg Jets' 5-2 defeat over Paul Maurice and the Florida Panthers. The Jets wrapping up the 4-game homestand with an impressive record of 3 wins and 1 loss. And this game, it's sort of interesting, gentlemen, that the Jets' 2 best games on the road trip are the bookended ones. The first game against the Avalanche, the last game against the Panthers, arguably the 2 most difficult games on the homestand. The Jets have their 2 best efforts of the homestand, emblematic of tonight's 5-2 victory over the Panthers, a game that the Jets led 4-1 after 40 minutes until they were able to hold on for that 5-2 victory. Not really hold on, they had it comfortably in hand. But this was a game that everybody had circled on their calendar. Probably one of those games that when you did your season ticket draft, it went pretty early on, I would imagine. You wouldn't think necessarily Tuesday against Florida would be that exciting, but the return of Paul Maurice, a Panthers team that are the defending President's Trophy winners for the most points in the regular season last year. But all in all, for the Winnipeg Jets, gentlemen, an impressive victory. They get 2 points in the standings and they move into a tie, as you were keeping track of earlier, a tie with the Dallas Stars atop the Central Division. The Jets will actually be ahead of the Stars because they have 2 games in hand pending the outcome of the Dallas-Toronto game taking place right now with the Leafs up 3-0 over the Dallas Stars. Good evening to you both, gentlemen. Nice to see you on this Tuesday evening. I hope all is well in your world.
Yeah, good evening, and definitely all is well in the Democratic world. I know we don't talk about politics here, but that's a big win, Raphael Warnock in Georgia, but we'll stick to hockey here. But no, that was incorrect, Drew. I was not following the standings. I realize the Jets are – I know where the Jets are in the standings, but every single year we've been doing this show, I remind people for 13 and a half plus years, and I always find it funny when people are standings watching at this point in the season. Like, the Jets are comfortably in a playoff spot right now. Dave and I were talking about this while we were watching that third period. The Jets could probably, play a slightly under 500. Let alone, 500, but they could probably be a little bit under 500. What are they, 16-7-1 right now? So they have a really nice cushion in the Central Division. So right now it's obviously, Dallas, Winnipeg, Colorado. Those are the top 3 teams in the Central. But I don't know if you guys have looked, since the Jets played the Avalanche, but they have even more injuries now with Nathan McKinnon, right? I think
he's
they had
out for a month.
Injury. Yeah. So, I mean, right now the Avalanche are in trouble. And you wonder, if a guy like Brock Besser is somebody who they go after. And there's other players as well, but we won't get into that. But look, going into this game, all we were talking about was how bad the Jets were in the first periods, right, against Columbus and Anaheim. And so what did they do? They took it to the Panthers tonight, Dave, in the first period. That was a much better start to this game. And, this is everything that the Jets want to do, right? Play with speed, be aggressive on the forecheck, create turnovers, create penalties, score on the power play. Like, the power play is finally starting to really click, right? It definitely was not clicking against the Blue Jackets, but even though was the goal that they scored on the power play? I think it might have been. But the point is, earlier in the game, the power play was not clicking, but over the last 5 or 6 games, the Jets, I believe, have a goal in every single one of those games. So the power play comes through big. And let's be honest, Scheif, Connor, Wheeler, Dubois, like, these guys stepped up big time in front of their former coach. Hellebuck was really good. You have to give him a lot of credit. I mean, he didn't have to steal the game or anything like that, but the Panthers made it a little bit interesting there, making it a 2-goal game in the third period. But I'm with Drew. I mean, the Jets were in control of this game after they went up 4-1. So a really impressive performance. And yeah, overall, this homestand, with the exception of the horrible loss to the Blue Jackets, and I say horrible just because it just wasn't an effort that you're used to seeing from this Jets team, but overall, I mean, this was a very successful homestand. And, hopefully they're going to be able to continue it on the back-to-back on the road against St. Louis and Chicago. But you have to really like their effort overall. I think, this was a team effort, and, the players that you expect to step up, stepped up and produce for the Jets.
Yeah, Dave, as he talked about the start to the game for the Winnipeg Jets, and even though it took the Jets the majority of the first period before they were able to get a goal, you almost felt it with their first few shifts, especially the line to me that jumped out at me was the Lowry, Manalainen, Barron line. First few shifts of the game for that line were spent entirely in the Panthers zone, forechecking hard, controlling the puck behind the goal line, just being physical and tough to move because that's a lot of hefty weight and a lot of big boys on that line for the Jets. And I thought that sort of the opening couple of shifts from that line almost set the tone for a lot of this game, especially wanting the Jets to get a better start than we've seen for the last few games against the Ducks and the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question, Drew. That's exactly what the Jets needed to do, and that's the kind of game the Jets needed to play. I mean, there was going to be a lot of emotion, and you could kind of feel it getting ready. And obviously, the Panthers are dealing with a number of injuries, and they've got a bunch of guys out of their lineup. Obviously, as do the Winnipeg Jets. So I mean,
Panthers don't look like the same team without Barkov, guys. It's like
no, and they're
really
missing
don't.
Obviously Lundell, and they could probably use Mackenzie Weegar and Jonathan Huberdeau, but
Radko Gudas as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. So they're missing some guys, but I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, you have to play who's and right now they look like a bit of a mess in net with Spencer Knight, getting the hook and Officer Bob coming in, and then he gave up a goal. So, I mean, the Panthers are an interesting conversation right now, and our friends at Betway, the odds maker, had things fairly even. Although the Panthers have not been a very good road team, I think they came into the game 6-7-1 on the road, and the Jets, of course, 9-3-0 here in Winnipeg. Obviously now 10-3-0 after tonight's win, but it was an interesting contest, and you knew that there was going to be a lot of emotion. I mean, Paul Maurice spoke for almost 20 minutes today, kind of waxing poetic as Paul Maurice tends to with the local media, with obviously the folks from Florida, sharing memories, and clearly there was obviously going to be a nice little, mention of Paul Maurice and Jamie Compon and their time here in Winnipeg. I'm assuming, did they show it on the broadcast? I'm assuming not.
They did.
Because it went.
They did.
Oh, they showed the whole thing?
Yeah, they didn't go to break during the typical TV timeout. They showed the video. They showed the whole. Everybody got to see the ovation from the crowd. So yeah,
that's
if
good.
you're watching
That's
at home,
They also panned up in the press box, Dave, and you were eating popcorn. I don't think you were aware.
Yeah,
you were oblivious. But yeah, they did show you on the broadcast as
Now,
well.
you know how
really
I know
odd. It was odd.
I know you're both lying.
You didn't have popcorn tonight?
Because I didn't actually have popcorn today, but I also, because I was recording the video, so in case people didn't see it, it would be able to be viewed on our Instagram, on our
pumping
Facebook,
out a little content, Dave,
on our website. Yes, boys, that's what I do. So I mean, there's no popcorn for moi. May have had some Smarties, but there was no popcorn tonight. I instead was watching the presentation, and look, the guys got a nice standing ovation. It was nice. They put their arms around each other and waved. It's clear, I mean, clearly, like I said, the waving gifts were out in full force. I like how they used that in the video too. That was funny, but the reality was that they dedicated themselves for many, many years here in Winnipeg and became not just members of a hockey team, but members of a community. So regardless of whether you felt Paul Maurice was past his due date here in Winnipeg, or his expiration date, I should say, in Winnipeg as coach, they were excellent members of the community and did a lot for the community and embraced living here in Winnipeg, not just during the hockey season, but year round. So it was nice to see the crowd's ovation and everything they did for those two. And like I said, it was a fun hockey game, and not a normal, like you said, Drew, not a normal sort of Tuesday night, minus 20 out, and folks are like, oh, do I want to go to that game? Instead, people were excited, and I think like you said, had it marked on their calendars.
Yeah, and before we get into the Betway game recap, I think it's worth maybe spending a minute talking about Paul Maurice's media availability from earlier today, because I thought, he was honest, like he usually is, and didn't expect anything different, and he acknowledged that it was a bit different and that he still has a soft spot for Winnipeg. But I think the main takeaway from it, from my perspective, is him admitting that he should never have started last year as the Winnipeg Jets head coach. And I don't fault him for that. I think that's an error in judgment of Kevin Cheveldayoff and probably more so Mark Chipman. They should have been more proactive about it. And I know it's easy to say
This sounds like a Saturday morning topic, Drew, not a
Well, it's
post-game
not a
show
Saturday
topic.
morning topic because by the time Saturday rolls around,
I'm joking.
there's another 2 games that have already been played, and this is going to be yesterday's news.
Drew, the Jets have 11 games before the Christmas break.
I know
11.
how many games they have.
I don't even know how that's possible, but continue.
They play 5 and they play.
Continue Drew's rant. I'd like to.
No, it's not a rant. It's just, I thought, I appreciated the honesty that came from Paul Maurice and saying, look, I should never have started last year as this team's head coach. And, that was a error made by multiple people. I don't expect Maurice to, quit in the summer, but Cheveldayoff and Chipman probably learned a hard lesson that sometimes you're better off doing something maybe 6 months too soon than 3 months too late. And that's what you sort of saw there. And again, there was a reminder of that today in Paul Maurice's media availability. And on top of that, Mark Scheifele, who
I was going to get into Scheifele.
Sorry, go then. Then why don't you talk about Mark Scheifele?
Yeah,
then,
I just wanted to. I was so itchy to get in here. I have eczema as well, but I just thought
a lotion or something will help.
Yeah. I need to get some more Glaxol base or whatever it's called. But I think that his comments, Scheifele, I'm talking about here. I thought he had an opportunity to say a few nice things about Maurice. And he really didn't, right?
No,
like, I get that they want to downplay it. I realize that because Wheeler was the other player that spoke. I'm not sure if anybody else spoke, but Scheifele and Wheeler spoke today in addition to Rick Bowness, right? Dave's giving me the thumbs up, so I'm right for once here. But I thought that Scheifele was, it was kind of a little bit like, I don't know. It was kind of like he really didn't want to say anything nice about Maurice. He could have easily just said, I think he's going to get a stand. Everybody knew that the Canada Life Center crowd was going to give Paul Maurice and Jamie Compon a standing ovation. I mean, these guys were, especially Maurice, was head coach longer than Jamie Compon, but Compon was here for what, Dave? 4 years? I want to say 4 or 5 years, something like that. 3 years, 4 years. I mean, the point is that they both got invasions. I don't want to just not include Jamie Compon, but back to Scheifele's comments. I just thought he, didn't really. He passed up an opportunity, and he seemed like he was really trying to not only downplay it, but just really not say anything nice about Maurice.
The phrase that I would use, Dave, from regarding Scheifele's comments is damning with faint praise. Because he wasn't explicitly negative about him, because you wouldn't expect Mark Scheifele to be explicitly negative or explicit about anything. He just really doesn't say much of anything during his media availabilities. But he sort of was tossed up a softball where he could have said something nice, and he elected to sort of to pass it up. So whatever baggage exists there, and there's clearly some baggage, it hasn't been, time and distance hasn't necessarily healed all wounds there. And you definitely saw that in Scheifele's willingness to sort of just not say anything complimentary, or rather than taking that opportunity to say something nice, even if it was completely generic, like we're used to hearing from him.
Yeah, I think that's and I think he and Blake Wheeler kind of both just it was underwhelming, right? You kind of expected them to be like, okay, you're right, Drew. These are fairly softball, easy kind of responses, and instead of doing that, they just were muted and didn't really go want to play into that angle and want to go with the whole narrative. And maybe they wanted to just keep it focused on the game. That's the way Rick Bowness presented it, right? Oh, well, we've got to focus on the game. We've got to win the game. And the Jets do have to win the game, right? I mean, we've talked about it. The Jets aren't super comfortable. Their teams like Nashville and Minnesota aren't that far back. So you need to continue to add points when you get the opportunity. So I understand, like the Jets said, this is just one game. This is just another game in the schedule. But we also know that's not true. We also know that teams focus on these types of things. When former teammates come to Winnipeg or they're going somewhere, look at Patrick Laine. Look at Patrick Laine's comments after the game in Columbus. Well, it was just a bit more special. These guys, although I believe when Patrick Laine says he has no idea what's happening with the Jets, I believe that's the truth. I so many times, and people don't understand, like you'll hear a guy talk and you'll be like, how can they not know? I've heard players talk and they don't even know who the goalie is that they're facing in net sometimes. Like so it's not completely unexpected to hear that sort of talk where they're completely clueless about their opponents. But my point is that Patrick Laine's comments were, it was a little bit extra special. So that the Jets they felt that, rightly so, Paul Maurice quit on them last year. And so I think that the Jets they weren't going to come out and say, we're going to show him, but I think they were going to show him. I think that this game meant a lot for the Winnipeg Jets, and I suspect I haven't watched the post-game celebrations. I'm sure they were, maybe a little bit muted, but somewhat emphatic. And I think that this was an important game for the Jets to win from a standings perspective, but also from a mentality perspective.
And the Jets certainly did win it. Let's get into the Betway game recap, brought to you, of course, by Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. And of course, the title sponsor here of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. We mentioned the Jets wanted a good start to the game after having two very poor starts against Anaheim and Columbus. They got that good start. Even on shifts where they weren't scoring, but they did open the scoring as well. It comes on the power play, the first of two power play goals by the Winnipeg Jets in tonight's game. It's Mark Scheifele, his 14th of the year, to assist to Pierre-Luc Dubois and Josh Morrissey, of course, and that made it 1-0 for the Jets at the 13:20 mark. And what I liked about the power play guys here, it's what we talked about on Saturday's show. We talked about it, on Sunday's post-game show as well, I believe. You saw movement. You saw a lot of movement from everybody all throughout this power play. They were going from there were guys going from the point back to low in the zone, guys that were moving from in front of the net to a one-timer position. Just a lot of moving parts on the power play, which makes it so much more difficult to defend, Ezzy.
Yeah, movement and also like simplicity, right? Like we've talked about it a lot. Like you have to sometimes take what the other team gives you, but in this particular case, like there's a little bit of a scrum in the corner, comes back to Morrissey at the point. He centers himself, puts the shot on net, and the Jets get a little bit lucky, right? Because it hits Dubois. So I think it was Ekblad and Mark Stahl. By the way, guys, I don't know if you guys noticed this as well, but you actually had two Stahls on that penalty kill. You had Mark Stahl and Eric Stahl, the pride of Thunder Bay, Ontario. I just thought that's cool. Like, first off, I think Eric Stahl is arguably a Hall of Famer. And I just think it's awesome that he's still playing. So I just wanted to put that out there. I've always been a big fan of Eric Stahl. So it was pretty cool to see them out on the PK. We know that there's 4 Stahl brothers out there. So, it's not that surprising that there's 2 Stahls on a PK. But again, that's just me kind of nerding out hockey-wise. But again, they get a little bit lucky there because the shot from Morrissey hits Dubois. And then, Scheifele just ends up getting behind the defense there and just jumps on the rebound. So it's a really simple goal. That's kind of like a workman-like goal. But I agree with you, Drew. Like, there needs to be a little bit more of that kind of just shot first mentality, I think, especially from the first PP unit.
Yeah, and this is what you want.
Not from Josh Morrissey, by the way. Josh Morrissey definitely has the shoot first mentality, even though he likes to distribute the puck. But you know what I mean? You don't always need to have a tic-tac-toe passing play like we saw later in the game.
You have layers of traffic in front of Spencer Knight on this goal, Dave, and yes, it's a fortuitous bounce, but at the same time, you're making things difficult on the opponent by putting those layers and those bodies in front of the goalie, where good things can happen, where you should be able to outman them because you have that man advantage, and the puck does end up on Scheifele's stick in a fortuitous spot. But again, you don't have to apologize for that because you're going to those difficult areas. You're putting the bodies there. You're willing to pay the price, and that's what the Jets were willing to do in this instance, which results in the 1-0 goal, Dave.
Yeah, and one of the things earlier in the game was that their movement was excellent, and I know you guys mentioned that, but it really was. I mean, the one thing in the first power play, the Jets did take the first power play unit did take the entire 2 minutes of the power play. Yeah, no,
because they maintained possession for the entire 2 minutes.
No, for sure they did, and I'm just saying they weren't able to cycle anyone out, but they did a great job. They didn't obviously get any they didn't score, they didn't create but they possessed the puck, and the movement was better. And there were a couple of instances like Kyle Connor's passing. Like sometimes you look at it and you're like, wow, this guy's. And we'll talk about it later in the game when he on that goal that he passed over to Mark Scheifele, but. I mean, that's what you like to see. You like to see them playing it with speed. And again, that's what like you said, Drew, you get rewarded for it finally. And then you create that 1-0 lead. You create the vibes in the building. everybody's pumped up, everybody's jazzed, and everybody's ready to go.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's what Rick Bowness wanted to see. He wants to see the team come out with some jump. So wanted to see him come out with some life. And that's what you saw from the Jets, and they get rewarded to lead 1-0. Doesn't last long. It lasts a grand total of 51 seconds as Carter Verhaeghe at the 14-11 mark of that first period with who's in the box for the Jets? It's Brendan Dillon. He's in the box serving an interference penalty. Connor Verhaeghe gets his 15th of the year, assist to Matthew Tkachuk and Brandon Montour. This is found, he's found money for the Florida Panthers, given his career path because he's turned out to be an absolute dynamic player with an incredible shot. Because this is a world-class shot, and there was another one later in the game that didn't result in a goal, but that was almost another world-class shot. He's got one of the most underrated shots in the league, I would venture to say.
Yeah, that was a really good pickup by Florida. He was previously with the Lightning, which we know, right? So yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt that he's playing with Matthew Tkachuk either, right? But yeah, this power play.
He's not a passenger on that line. He's a driver on that line.
No, that's not what I meant. I just meant that, playing with a guy like Matthew Tkachuk, doesn't hurt him, right? That's all I'm saying. But he's a good player. But yeah, this is just a situation where you're watching that, and the pass comes right through the crease of Hellebuck. It's almost like as you're watching that, you're thinking like, I wonder if Hellebuck thought after that goal was scored that he wished he'd got a piece of that or something like that. It's easier said than done after a goal is scored, but the pass comes out from the corner from Tkachuk, and Verhaeghe just has all the time to step into that's what you call teeing up a wrist shot, right? So I agree with you. That was no fault of Hellebuck's at all. That was a perfectly placed shot. And obviously, completely stole the momentum in the game after it looked like the Jets had the momentum. But then we know what happened. 20 seconds later, Kyle Connor scored a goal in which I know I'm skipping ahead here, but you could look at this like two ways. You could say that this is Spencer Knight should have had that one, Dave, or you could say that that's just a really quick release and smart of Connor to put that shot on net, because clearly it's almost like he knew that Knight wasn't ready to take that shot.
Now I'm trying to decide if Drew's ready for me to take that goal analysis, or if Drew wants to jump back in and then throw it back to me. So, Drew, you're the host. What do you want to do?
I will say that the 17 seconds after Florida tied the game and won, Kyle Connor, his 9th of the year, gave the Jets the 2-1 lead, a lead they would not relinquish. Pierre-Luc Dubois gets his second assist on the game. Brendan Dillon picking up the secondary assist there. And it becomes 2-1 for the Jets just in a blink of an eye. 3 goals are scored in a minute and 8 seconds, as it's going fast and furious at this point in the first period. Now, Dave, you can give your analysis on the goal.
There you go. It's interesting. I actually kind of said to Carter, who's sitting beside me from Game On, I said, Carter, this kind of feels like that Philadelphia Jets game early in the in the Jets return to Winnipeg, that it felt that there was going to be some chaos in the game when the goals were coming fast and furious. You didn't know exactly what was going to happen. But look, Kyle Connor's got an amazing shot, and even though he's not scoring, he's still producing points. He's still got a ton of assists. And like I said, like, people think Kyle Connor's all about goals, but I mean, his goals and assists career are almost equal, right? He's got 4 or 5 more goals than he does assists. So you're not talking about a player who is, incapable of passing. I mean, he is an incredible facilitator because of his vision. But look, when he's starting to feel good about his shot again, which he clearly is, he's got a world-class shot. And he's, you could see it again. I want to give a shout out to our boy, Colby Perfetti-Spence, because he took a bunch of incredible pictures throughout the course of the game. It's actually funny because if you look at the Jets photographer, obviously Jonathan Kozub, he took a picture and the Jets called it art. And the best part is, in the background, you see Colby taking a picture with his camera through the hole on the glass. That's where Colby was for the first and second periods. So we've got some pictures. Go check our Instagram. All of Colby's art is featured there, of course, or on our website throughout the course of a day. But look, Kyle Connor's shot is incredible, and you can tell that he's feeling it again. So that's one of those things that when Kyle Connor is feeling it, and Pierre-Luc Dubois is feeling it, and Mark Scheifele is feeling it, plus you're getting production from the bottom 6, suddenly what's Rick Bowness's big thing? You want all 4 lines to be playing the same. Now, as we always talk about this, you need the big boys to be your big boys, to be your drivers, but they can't always be. Otherwise, you burn them out. And now you're getting production from the bottom 6, production from the top 6. that's the way, ideally, a team that like the Jets right now, who are winning more often than not, are able to produce. And look, you've got a homestand right now that makes you 3-1.
But do you agree with me, guys? Like, I agree with you. Connor, we all know he's got a great, like, you can't score 47, right, Dave, without having a fantastic shot. But if you actually, I went back and watched the replay, Dubois makes a nice little pass, right? Because he feeds it right in the wheelhouse of Connor, who's at the top of the circle. But he actually takes the pass on his backhand. And then he goes to his forehand. But if you look at Spencer Knight, like, he wasn't set, right? Like, not that I'm a goalie expert here, but like, it just seemed to me like he was not ready. And you could either look at it like two ways. Like, Connor just put the puck on net. And, you know, it's that cliche, like when hockey players are asked about the goal they scored, right? It's like, oh, I just put it on net and, you know, hope for the best, right?
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like Connor kind of, you know, saw that in Knight. And so I think that that's a goal he should have stopped, considering it was from whatever, 25 feet away or something like that.
Yeah.
But I just think that, you know, you have to give Connor credit just for, you know, because that wasn't one of his best shots, right? Like, that was not anywhere close to the velocity you're used to seeing on a Connor shot. But I guess when you're a goal scorer, those types of goals go in, right?
Well, and look, sorry, Drew, just quickly, I want to give Ed McStinko a shout out for having a great username, but also because
Eddie McStinko, I went to high school with him.
But also for the fact that I agree, Connor and Dubois back together. I mean, look how good they were last year, and they obviously didn't start this year together, but they've been very good since they've reconnected. And obviously Scheifele and Wheeler have worked well as a duo, and that we always
like Bert and Ernie, Dave.
That's right. And we talk about how we like Perfetti with those guys because of the way he thinks the game. So ultimately, will Mike Yessimont stick as the six, you know, the winger on the Dubois Connor line? I'm not certain, but what I do know is that Dubois and Connor just seem to work extremely well together, and we're seeing it throughout the course of this game and the latter part of this season.
I think you're both being generous to Spencer Knight. That's a bad goal. It should never go in. I know Connor's got a good shot and everything, but that from that distance.
No, I said it was a bad goal.
Okay,
rewind the tape, Drew.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
You have to also give Connor credit for, like, again. I don't know if he was.
It's a quick release, and I get that. I get that, you know, that he may have caught.
It was a bad
Knight not expecting it, or, you know, unsuspecting, but that goal can't go in from that distance in that situation. You know, 17 seconds after you've tied the game, it's almost just like another backbreaker.
Deflating.
It's definitely deflating. Also, speaking of deflating, Brendan Dillon's nether regions, thanks to the slash at the hand.
How was that called a slash? That was a spear.
I mean,
well, again, what makes no sense is that
what were they reviewing? Whether it was
the whole
slash
point.
Or a spear?
No, it is. Like, everybody was like, I was like, okay, they're reviewing it to decide whether it should be a major, and like, I'm like, okay, there's no question about it. They're going to call it a major, because why review it if you thought the call was initially going to be not a major? Then you'd think that you'd review it in order to call. We need scouting the refs on this show immediately, because like we were sitting in the press box.
Text Josh.
And I honestly was like, okay, they're going to call it. And I'm like trying to figure out how to tweet it, because I'm like, the refs are reviewing now. I mean, first of all, the dirty play by Matthew Tkachuk. No surprise there. I mean, that's just Matthew Tkachuk's MO. I mean, he plays that game over the line more often than not. And unfortunately for Brendan Dillon's nether regions, he got him with a good spear in right where the sun don't shine.
Mm-hmm.
And Dillon was down for a while. Like, it wasn't like he was down for a second. Yeah. He was down for a while. He went to he immediately, once he got up, he went to the room. I mean, he came back shortly thereafter. But I mean, that's just an inexplicable.
Is that a
play.
fine, boys? Do we think?
I think it's a fine. It'll end up being a fine. Going to be a fine, I guess.
Yeah. What I don't understand, after this many incidences over this many years, why Matthew Tkachuk gets the benefit of the doubt.
And why is he doing that? Like, he's
I get why he does that. That's how he has to succeed. I understand that completely. It doesn't bother me that he does it, but what bothers me about it is that the officials in the NHL and the NHL Department of Player Safety continue to let him get away with it and continue to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
If he no longer got that benefit of the doubt, then he would have to alter his game. If that is called a 5 and a game misconduct,
and changes the
exactly,
that's
probably what it should have been, Drew.
Right, that's what it should have been. It changes the game dramatically. He's out of the game. It's detrimental to his team. It's detrimental to himself, and maybe it forces him to not do those kind of shenanigans anymore. But if the NHL is going to continue to allow him to get away with it, because playing on the edge and occasionally taking a 2-minute minor penalty is sort of the price you're willing to pay for Matthew Tkachuk.
Spearing a guy in the balls to me is not part of that. Like, to me, that's a sign of a frustrated team. Even though the Panthers had won their previous 2 games, one of them was against the Kraken, if I'm not mistaken. One of them, and I forget who the other. It was a bad team. I remember that. It wasn't a very good team. Like, the Panthers are out.
Vancouver?
It might have been.
They definitely, there's the Kraken.
They're on the West Coast. So.
5-1. Wasn't Edmonton? I'm not sure who it was either.
I'd have to check. But
I think it was Edmonton, Drew.
The point was that the Panthers, I think, had won 4 of their previous 10. So it's like they'd won 2 in a row, but like before that, they had lost a bunch of games. So they were coming into this game a couple points out of a wild card spot. So obviously it's changed a little bit now, maybe. But the point is that, to me, in a game in which you need to win here on the road, and
considering
at that point you
came in 10th in the
right?
And you came in 10th in the East.
Right. It was 2. That's what I'm saying. Like, they need these points to get into a wild card spot. Even though, as I said earlier, I mean, things are going to change so much over the next few months, right? But I just think that type of stuff is above. I agree with what you're saying, Drew. He's got to be physical. He's got to be a pest, and he's obviously, most likely always going to be on the score sheet. He's their best player. But I mean, he injured Dylan. Like, Dylan's not going to be out long term. He injured him enough short term, is what I meant. It was a short term injury. He got him good. It wasn't a love tap. He put something.
He knew exactly what he was going. He knew exactly what he was going to do, which is fine. Again, it's just, if you're never, if you're all, if you steal a cookie from the cookie jar, and there's never any consequences for continuing to steal cookies, I'm going to continue to steal cookies. And as people can tell, I've been stealing cookies for a lot of years. Exactly. I've been stealing cookies for a very long time. That's what Matthew Tkachuk's all about. And the NHL, for whatever reason, continues to not even look the other way. They continue to watch him steal cookies and then encourage him to keep stealing them. 2-1 for the Jets after 20 minutes. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
So, Drew, 2 things that are worth noting after the Tkachuk incident. Number one, the folks in Canada Life, well, specifically one person in Canada Life.
Yeah, that didn't sound right.
Yeah,
folk isn't something that can be singular.
Yeah, I get singular. No, that's right. But one person in Canada Life in the 300 sections, I'm reliably told, very near where we sit in the press box, started chanting "Brady is better," which was hilarious and kind of got going a little bit. I don't know if you guys could hear it at home, but they were chanting, and then it got picked up.
Like, are we talking about like Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning for the GOAT? Or what are
almost. But then they were talking about Brady Tkachuk, and then what was great was,
Tkachuk.
Of course,
sorry, okay.
Yes, and then of course, then all the Senators fans Senators, I believe, were being pummeled by. Who were they being pummeled by? LA, maybe.
Yeah,
so they were. So I think they took some solace in the fact that the Winnipeg fans were yelling. Although, as one person pointed out to me, as soon as Brady comes to Winnipeg, they'll be chanting something similar about "We hate you, Brady" or something along those lines.
Keith is better. It'll be Keith is better at that point
exactly.
in time.
Exactly. And the other thing that was notable from that incident,
Chantal is better.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah, she's the Winnipegger.
Yeah.
But what I will say is what was worth noting when he came back was Brendan Dillon was ready to murder and I don't know if they showed that on the broadcast.
They talked about it on the broadcast.
Yeah. He was chirping that Florida bench, and he was hot. He was ready for something. And
that's the part that bothers me.
It was Neil Pionk who decided to.
Right. So Neil Pionk fights Nick Cousins, which is not the matchup anyone was expecting. But look,
it was a good middle.
Yeah, it was perfectly good. I had no problem with it. But look, if Tkachuk does that and Dylan wants to fight him, then Tkachuk has to fight him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just such rat behavior to do that, get away with it, and then not answer the bell when you're asked to stand up, and fight in that instance. You just, I mean, that's the part that I have the biggest problem with. He does that kind of nonsense, and then he hides behind the bully rather than owning up to his actions. If you're going to play like that, you have to answer the bell. And yeah, you might get your ass kicked, but guess what? That's the price you have to pay for playing on the edge like that. In any event, 2-1 for the Jets after 20 minutes. It takes them 1:43 into the second to extend that lead to 3-1. This is actually the game-winning goal, pardon me. It's Kyle Connor again, his 10th of the season, his second of the game. Dubois getting a third assist on 3 goals. And this is just a beautiful stick check by Kyle Connor, just playing pickpocket, and he feeds it to Dubois, and Dubois back to Connor, and it's 3-1 for the Jets. Just again, not the best goal on Spencer Knight. This is what ended Spencer Knight's day after this goal. But this one, at least I have a little bit more. I'm a little more accepting of it than I am the second goal, but still not a great one because I don't think Connor got all the shot, and it went 5-hole on Spencer Knight, as he.
Yeah, and this is kind of what Dave's referring to in terms of Kyle Connor. Like what Dave's saying is not, he's a great goal scorer and he's a great playmaker. What Dave is saying is he's a great hockey player overall. And this is a great example of him, like you said, is Ryan Lomberg, if I'm not mistaken, right? And Lomberg for some reason thought he was Aaron Ekblad. I'm not sure what he was doing, skating the puck up the middle, making all these moves as if he was Ekblad, really, or one of the more skilled Panthers players, Barkov, whoever you want to pick. And it's just a really nifty, like he takes the puck from Lomberg, but he does it in a way that like he's in complete control of the puck, right? And then Dubois just gives Connor back the puck, and it's just a great shot. Like this to me was vintage Connor. And should Spencer of Knight stop that one? Sure. It was 5-hole, right? So anytime a goal scored from that distance at 5-hole, it's not going to look good. But I just love everything about that goal. Connor's takeaway, the shot, the fact that the Jets came out in that second period with all of the momentum. They were dictating the pace. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you got the feeling that obviously was the game-winning goal, but you got the feeling that after that goal, the Jets were in complete control, Dave. So just a beauty goal from KFC.
Yeah, Dave, any insight you want to add on that one, or should I move on to the fourth goal?
Well, no, I mean, like I think it's just another example of a guy who's heating up. I mean, he's got 2 goals now in the game, and mm-hmm. really he had opportunities for more. And I jokingly tweeted, I said, it feels like it's the kind of night where he's going to win someone at least $100,000 because he seemed to be feeling it, as we sometimes say. And he looked ready to go. And so, like I said, it's one of those situations where you've got a guy like Kyle Connor heating up. You've got Mark Scheifele heating up. I mean, these guys are on pace for, 50 goal seasons. You got Josh Morrissey on pace for 75 assists. Pierre-Luc Dubois quietly, I think, and as he talked about him on Saturday, but Pierre-Luc Dubois is suddenly knocking on Josh Morrissey's on the heels for total team points lead, right? So Pierre-Luc Dubois is over a point a game right now player for the Winnipeg Jets this season. So I think a lot of guys suddenly are producing. And again, there's nobody in the Jason Robertson, 20 goals. I know the Scheifele at 15 isn't bad, but the reality is these guys there's not top 5, top 10 right now in terms of I haven't checked the stats to see, but they're collectively, it's kind of like, do you remember the Jets in the mid 90s when they had all those guys who were getting like 20, 30 goals? Like it was across the board.
Are you talking about Igor Korolev here?
Yeah, exactly. And the Zamnov and Kachuk and
Luciano Borsato.
But you know what I'm saying? Like it was that
idea. I could do this all day long, Dave.
Oh, absolutely. We'll just keep it rolling but my point is you had a lot of guys contributing. You have a team game. So not one guy getting cold isn't going to kill you because you got so many other guys who are contributing. And I think that is what we're seeing from this Jets crew is that, and again, I'm going to go back to this idea of what Rick Bowness talked about. You're getting 4 lines who look similar, 4 lines who are producing. And that to me is critical for the Jets' success as a collective this season.
Well said, Dave M. Jets make it 4-1. It's on the power play, and it comes at the tail end of a power play that really hadn't done a lot up to this point. It was sort of a bit of a haggard-looking power play until Mark Scheifele gets his 15th of the year assist to Connor and Nate Schmidt, and this is just an absolutely beautiful passing play. But the amount of time and space that Scheifele ends up with, I don't know how Mark Scheifele ends up this wide open. It seems like something you might want to look into, Florida Panthers. But the Jets really at the tail end of the power play, where they hadn't done a lot for the first minute 45, minute 50 of it. They get the zone with speed, and it's Schmidt who hits Connor, and Connor with an absolute beauty pass to Mark Scheifele, who is left all alone behind the defense, and he just one-times it past Bobrovsky to give the Jets the 4-1 lead, this coming at the 13:23 mark of the second period.
Yeah, this was the cliche insurance goal, right? The game was if it wasn't over, it was over after this point. And yeah, this is just beautiful. This is just quick passing. And by the way, boys, I think the reason why the Jets' first power play stayed out for a minute 50 is because that's what they used to do under Paul Maurice. So that was just
It
that was just
was
a bit of a
salute to him.
showcase.
Yeah,
it was a salute to Paul Maurice. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this play has started off by Nate Schmidt, who I think quietly is playing the best hockey, and he might be Dave knows he's one of my personal favorites. I just love his personality, and you've seen it time and time again, guys, that Schmidt is one of the most popular guys in this dressing room and has been for the last couple of years. But I just wanted to get that in there. I think quietly he's playing his best hockey of the year. But Connor brings it into the zone with speed. And then, like you said, it's tic-tac-toe. Scheifele moves in, nice one-timer. And Bobrovsky had absolutely no chance. That was by far, I thought, the nicest goal of the game.
And just quickly, sorry, Drew, to piggyback on Ezzy. That again, Colby captured it perfectly. And the grin between Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor is actually pretty hilarious.
And also, sorry, wanted to get this in, Dave. I cut you off. Actually, someone commented on that I don't. You got to understand that Dave is okay with me cutting him off. He's not okay with Mindell cutting him off. That's what Dave doesn't like. He's okay because he knows that the talent is at the bottom and the top right here. So he knows he's okay with me cutting him off a little bit. I just wanted to get in the point that Dubois did to Josh Mahura in the penalty box, Dave, because he, of course, was in the penalty box for boarding Blake Wheeler. That could have probably been more than 2 minutes, to be honest with you. But I love that. Like, some people would say that's being cocky or unsportsmanlike. I love that stuff.
First of all, Blake Wheeler might be bionic, because when we saw it,
he got up and he was fine. It's like,
no, but you don't understand.
Happened.
That's literally below us in the press box, and I kind of saw it, but I didn't really see it, and I kind of was like, okay. And I'm like, oh, well, Blake Wheeler. I mean, everybody piled in afterwards, and so you're like, okay. And Blake Wheeler bounces up, and he's standing kind of beside the pile, watching everyone kind of scrumming. And so, of course, they call the penalty. Then they showed the replay, and I'm not joking. I actually don't know how he didn't break his neck. It looked brutal on replay. And the crazy part is Blake Wheeler is out there to start the power play. I mean, it could have been horribly dangerous. And yet somehow 26 looked like he was none the worse for wear as a result of that. And
none the wiser.
And he was ready to go. So he was ready to go, just like the Jets were ready to go, apparently, and ready for Paul Maurice. And suddenly, Drew, they've gotten themselves a 4-1 lead.
They do have that 4-1 lead, and then the Jets run into some penalty troubles. And this is sort of a bit of a key moment to me in the game. It's 4-1 for the Jets, so they're in a good position. But then Dylan Sandberg takes an interference penalty at the 13:59 mark of the second period, and Josh Morrissey takes a holding penalty at the 18:55 mark of the second period. Because really, from the last 5 minutes on in that second period, Florida was really pushing hard, which, again, you would expect because you're down 4-1. And the Panthers give up a lot, but they can also score a lot. So this is a quick-fire team, a quick-strike team. And I thought it was really important on the Jets to get out of the second period without giving up another goal, especially when Florida had opportunities with those two power plays. And this is where the difference in goaltending, I thought, jumped out to me the most. Connor Hellebuyck made saves that, for us, we've seen them so often, they're almost routine. They're probably above average in difficulty, but he makes them look so routine. He makes the saves, whereas the Panthers, when they had an opportunity to get some saves earlier in the game, they don't get them. And that, to me, is really a time, the last 5 minutes of that second period, and I'd say even the first 5 minutes of the third period, when Hellebuyck was probably at his best during the game, keeping it at that 4-1 lead for the Jets until the 9:02 mark, when, again, another blown call. In this one, Zach Delp scores for the Panthers. It's his first of the year, assist to Chris Tierney and Kierstead as well. That made it 4-2, but it should never have happened. That was a textbook tripping penalty. Mark Scheifele is on the ice after getting tripped down. Yeah. Both officials are staring at it, and they don't make the call, I think, largely for game flow reasons. I mean, there's no reason not to make that call. It's an absolutely blatant trip. It's a simple call to make unless you're looking for a reason not to make a call in that instance. No call. The play goes right back up the ice the other way, and the Panthers score on the ensuing rush. It ultimately doesn't matter as the Jets make it 5-2 into the empty net, but it just doesn't make any sense from my perspective how two officials who are, paid to watch things like that determine that that's not a tripping penalty when it was clear as day that it's a tripping penalty.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it, Drew. I don't remember. I mean, I was watching the game. Maybe I wasn't really paying attention. Maybe it was Dave M and I kibitzing a little bit there, but I really wasn't paying attention there. So I'll take your word for it. I have to go back and look. But one thing that stood out on this goal was the Panthers just got way too much speed through the neutral zone too quickly. And all of a sudden you had like a slow moving play out of their own zone all of a sudden became like an obvious 3-on-2. That's what stood out to me. In addition to the penalty shot, the missed penalty that you were saying on Scheifele there. So it was a nice goal by Zach Dalpe, a guy, and Matt Kierstead, we should mention, UND guy. That was his first NHL game, I believe. So nice for him to pick up a point in his first NHL game. We were talking about it last game with Dylan Sandberg scoring his first NHL goal. So you always like to see that, but in the end, it was an inconsequential goal. Like it didn't lead to anything for the Panthers.
It didn't lead to anything, but there was. I mean, Florida was definitely. And again, this is usually.
Oh no, they had their push. There's no doubt, Drew, that they had their third period push. But all I'm saying is the Jets withstood that push.
They definitely withstood that push, and a lot of that had to do with Connor Hellebuyck, and the Jets were pretty good in their own zone at keeping a lot of stuff to the outside and mitigating Florida's push. I'll give them credit for that. But again, this is just to me, and again, we don't typically harp on the officials. It's just another one of those. It's been bad. And I mean, and again, I'm of the opinion that it's going to be bad, and bad is what you should be expecting as the standard until the NHL, until the owners want to invest more money in officiating. Bad is that's the standard. Inconsistent, that's the standard that they're okay with. And so that's what you see again in tonight's game.
Especially, Drew, when the goal is scored shortly after. Like that's the thing that I think we're seeing more early on this season. I mean, it's still like we're 24 games into the season, but relatively early on. We're still in the second quarter of the season. That's what I think we're seeing. We're seeing like bad calls that are resulting in goals and wins, right? Like we saw it with, what happened with, Connor Hellebuyck and Jamie Benn and Josh Morrissey. We don't have to revisit that, but
credit to the officials for blowing the whistle when Hellebuyck's helmet fell off in tonight's game when they got the Bronx cheer.
I feel like they're never going to miss that again, right? With Hellebuyck, like the referees, they all like it's a relatively small community of referees, right, guys? So it's almost like when Hellebuyck's mask goes off, like that whistle is going to be blown within a second or two.
And as John
it should be. It's not safe.
And as John points out, it was, and the crowd really gave a little Bronx cheer to the refs when they got the play. First of all, it was funny because the Jets started to push up the ice, so the crowd was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" But then, of course, once they realized the helmet was off, they thought maybe the net was off. But once they did, it was very funny to hear the crowd get in on. Crowd was good tonight. Actually, it was an enjoy, and we got to give a shout out to all the service men and women who were in the crowd. It was the Armed Forces Night. Yeah, so it was nice. It was nice to see all the folks. Although I may have gotten almost tossed out of an elevator by one of them. She was trying to hold me in. Then because she thought I was from Toronto. I said I'm from Winnipeg. As soon as she said, I heard, okay, you can go. I was like, thank you very much.
Why would she think you're from Toronto?
Because the guy beside me was from Toronto, and she goes, Toronto, and she was beaking him a little. And then Ville Heinola was in the elevator with me. I think he was a little bit nervous.
People from Toronto, just because they're from Toronto doesn't mean
I can understand the sentiment. But the point is that she let me out, and big shout out to all the men and women of the armed forces who were there.
Absolutely,
it was nice to see so many. It was nice to see them being honored throughout the course of the evening, and including the one who was I don't know what instrument she was playing. I guess the horn. I think I don't know. I was never in musical theater, so.
Clarinet, maybe.
I think the highest I ever got was with a recorder.
I think it was a bugle. Or no, I was actually eating bugles during the.
Yeah, you were eating bugles, Ezzy. But the point is that she was playing like the Hockey Night in Canada theme throughout the course of the game, so that was kind of fun. But yeah, it was nice to see all of them being honored throughout the course of the game. And I think and shout out to all the Jets fans who donated tickets. I think 600 fans had donated their tickets for folks to be able to go and see games. So that was kind of cool. And just something I would mention. Oh, and sorry, since you mentioned it, I'm going to segue a little bit out of this game, but I want to mention because ironically, I think as you just mentioned, Dylan Sandberg getting his first NHL goal. Coincidentally, his former D partner with the Manitoba Moose. I'll turn this into a Moose Minute. Johnny Kovacevic, he scored his first NHL goal, the 2017 third rounder for the Winnipeg Jets. He's opened the scoring in the Montreal-Seattle game, and he scored his first a shot from the point. So a night he won't soon forget. And I thought it was rather coincidental / fortuitous / poetic that Johnny Kovacevic and Dylan Sandberg would score their first goal so close together. So nice for him to get his first in the NHL, and I'm sure first of many, and they seem to be loving what Johnny Kovacevic is bringing in Montreal. I'm not here to rub salt in the wounds of Jets fans, but that's just the facts.
Okay.
As Bruce Willis once said.
5-2, Winnipeg Jets victorious over the Florida Panthers tonight.
Drew, do you want us to break down the empty net goal?
I really don't know. We're 50 minutes in. I don't think anybody needs to hear us talk about the empty net.
I don't know. A lot of people in the chat right now.
I'm surprised that Blake Wheeler didn't get it.
Adam Lowry.
Blake Wheeler gets every goal.
Adam Lowry, his 5th assist to Dylan Sandberg, the aforementioned Dylan Sandberg there, Dave. So it comes
Pride of Hermantown.
full circle. When we come back, the unique code word for the Illegal Curve contest. We'll see what's happening on Twitter. Anything worth reporting, we'll mention it there. Much more to come. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Kicked you off of Twitter, Drew. That's what we're going to go to next.
Maybe once you won't interrupt. Just maybe once you'll manage to shut your mouth. Well, fingers crossed. When we come back, more of the Illegal Curve post-game show. We're live on YouTube and all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time. Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. In the evening, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg rolling on with you, talking about the Jets 5-2 victory over the Florida Panthers. Still to come, the unique code word for the Illegal Curve contest, as he's going to pick a tough duck, hardest hitting comment as well, and we're going to announce the winner of the contest since last game against the Anaheim Ducks. But first, a little bit more from Mark Shifley tonight.
Yeah,
some interesting comments.
I thought you'd be reading these, Drew.
Yeah, some very
You can
interesting
see
comments.
Drew's salivating right now.
Yeah. As soon as Ezzy, it's funny when you guys were talking, I was like, I was quickly scrolling through Twitter to promote this show that people would come on and join us.
That little hamster in Drew's mind is.
And I could see the comments, and I was like, oh man, Mandel is going to be firing as soon as this comes back.
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't have to read between the lines here very hard to hear what Mark Shifley has to say. This quote, courtesy of Scott Billick that I'm reading it from. Quote, Mark Shifley on if there was added motivation tonight against Paul Maurice and the Florida Panthers. I'm not going to lie, that was a good win in my books. I'm pretty happy with that one. At the end of the day, we've moved on. We're a different team this year than we were last year. It's been exciting for a lot of us. You see the rejuvenated faces in this room. Rick Bowness has been on us each and every day, whether it's been a good game or a bad game. He's always looking to help us. I think it's been awesome for me. It's been awesome for a lot of us. We're being pushed and we're being challenged to reach our full potential. That does a lot for our team. That's Mark Shifley on today's victory against the Florida Panthers.
Well, and the reason that's so noteworthy is because you said this earlier, Drew, and I agree with you. Usually Shifley's a fantastic hockey player.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking anything away from him, but like he's as cliche as they come. I think we'd all agree. I don't think a lot of people in the comments are going to disagree. And we've been covering Mark Shifley literally since he was drafted in St. Paul 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's just the way he is, right? Like he's not going to give you the quotes that a guy like, Nate Schmidt is going to give you, or Connor Hellebuck, or some of the more outspoken guys on the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So look, I mean, clearly Shifley did not have a great relationship with Maurice towards the end. I mean, that's if that was a speculation earlier, I think that's been put to bed with his comments earlier. I saw someone, I think it was Rob Somerville earlier in the chat. What's up, Rob? Rob is often in the IC postgame show chat. And he was saying that, he also, when it was asked by him, I forget who asked him in the media, I apologize, but it was, did you get together? Did you see him? Wheeler and Shifley were both asked if they saw Maurice. And it was clear that like they didn't say, oh yeah, I tried to, but it didn't work out. Like they both basically said, no, we didn't see him and we didn't really want to see him, right?
Yeah, we didn't seek him out.
Exactly. So these post-game comments by Shifley, I think, are even more damning to use a Drew word. Clearly, I mean, they did want to show Maurice that they'd moved on and they wanted to get that win specifically to kind of rub it in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll ever fully know the drama that was happening in that Jets dressing room last year, but there was clearly a lot of it, and it was clear that there were factions and there were strong disagreements and strong differing of opinions, and clearly that time has, as I said at the start of the show, time has not healed all wounds, as Mark Shifley obviously still has some animus against Paul Maurice for whatever reason, and we're not going to speculate because we don't know, but there's clear for a guy who, as you said, as he is remarkably bland more often than not. You wonder if Mark Shifley had some money on the board tonight, and he certainly did his part, getting a couple goals for the Winnipeg Jets in today's 5-2 victory over the Florida Panthers. These teams don't meet again. They meet another time in Florida later on in the year. I'm not even sure when that game is, to be perfectly honest. It's not for a few months, so I don't think there's going to be much more about this, but it certainly proved to be a very interesting night, an interesting day in downtown Winnipeg, as we all sort of expected with Paul Maurice returning to Winnipeg. Dave M., the unique code word of the day. Do we have one?
Drew, the game's not till March 11th.
There you go. So March 11th, like I said, it's going to be a while. I don't think there's going to be much blowback. I don't think anyone's going to be sitting and stewing for the next 4 months until that game happens. But you never know. It'll be certainly be another interesting one still to come. unique code word for the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. This is where you enter the word, you get bonus entries for the opportunity to win great merchandise, Winnipeg Jets merchandise, courtesy of us here at Illegal Curve. You go to the drop down arrow, you click the link that says enter the Illegal Curve contest, or the contest link that's on the YouTube show description. It's also on our website, illegalcurve.com, and you enter the following word to get bonus entries. Dave M., why don't you do the honors?
I went with a little Seinfeldian reference. Del Boca Vista.
Love it.
Of course, was where the Seinfelds and then the Costanzas. Of course,
Briefly.
that was Del Boca Vista Phase 3.
Yep.
But I went with the Del Boca Vista reference for those who like Seinfeld, like Florida. And so there you go. That's my that was my unique code word for the day. So hey, go enter that. Win yourself 10 points or 10 entries, I should say, in the contest. And not only can you win jerseys, not only can you win authentic Jets hats, not only can you win authentic Jets t-shirts, but as of Friday, a little sneak peek after Friday, I should say, you may even be able to win yourself Jets tickets from the folks here at Illegal Curve. So I'm going to find out on Friday.
Is there anything we won't do for the good people that watch this show?
No. In fact, I've got Moose tickets for the next series then as well. So that's on the 17th when the Moose are back. I think they're playing Belleville in that series. But anyways,
the teddy bear toss, or there's a teddy bear component, I think, to the game either on the 17th or the 18th as well.
So the point is we've got Moose tickets. We may have Jets tickets in addition to our authentic.
Do we have
Jets
any
gear.
teddy bears to give away?
We do not.
I'm sure you do.
We may have a Ginsburg teddy bear. Maybe we should start giving away Alan calls you teddy bear.
I've been called a human teddy bear before.
I was going to say
Alan calls you Fozzie Bear a lot. So I mean, the reality is that maybe we should get a.
I was called Fozzie Bear in high school. That's what's funny about that. That's not the first time I've been called Fozzie Bear.
Who called you Fozzie Bear in high school?
People.
People.
Okay.
Sounds made up.
People. I can see it.
Anyways, Drew, let's announce the winner. Although I will say,
yes.
I don't see the winner in the chat. The winner's often in the chat, but I don't see the winner today in the chat.
Well, then he'll have to find out later on the replay or join us. Maybe he's quietly watching, and a lot of people are just quietly watching,
That's
not
true.
necessarily commenting. Dieter Steidinger, and I hope I'm pronouncing the last name correct and the first name for that matter. But Dieter Steidinger, congratulations. You're the latest winner in the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. That's a great victory. You're going to get some authentic Winnipeg Jets gear, courtesy of us here at Illegal Curve. So a big congrats to Dieter, who, yes, as you mentioned, Dave, is often in the chat, probably earned himself some extra bonus entries, and those paid off as his name was randomly drawn to be the winner of the merchandise contest.
There you go.
There you go. So congratulations to Dieter. Dave M., you'll be in touch with him, right?
I will. I'm a little behind, unfortunately. I've messaged a lot of people. Don't worry, I will be doing some delivery. I see our boy Spencer Sutton, although I kind of feel like Spencer's going to be disappointed with me delivering it. I kind of feel like I may need to bring Ezzy with me because Spencer and Ezzy seem to have some sort of like spirit connection. So I might have to bring.
What we need is one of those. We need one of those Amazon trucks. We need to steal an Amazon
commandeer
truck.
one.
Yeah,
we're not going to steal it. We'll commandeer it.
No, we're stealing it, and then we're gonna put an Illegal Curve logo over the Amazon logo, and that's what we have to do. I mean, we have so many things to give away. That's what we need. We can't just
that makes sense.
Your SUV is not going to cut it anymore, Dave.
See, 999 fries. I know that's a winner as well. So we've got a bunch of winners in the chat. Don't worry, the jerseys, the hats, the shirts, maybe tickets. Although you guys haven't won tickets yet. But all that's coming soon. I promise I haven't forgotten you, and I will be making the special delivery. In fact, I just got an email from one of the winners who is in Winkler or Morden. We have a Winkler winner and we have a Morden winner. Don't worry, everybody's getting their stuff. I got an email from him saying he got his. So the delivery will be personal, and it will be by either me or myself. And if I can grab Ginsburg, maybe me and Ginsburg going to visit Spencer, Frosty Winnipeg. Lots of, most importantly, I like seeing the winners in the chat. That's what I'm happy to see best.
There you go. Well said, Mr. Manuk. Tough Duck, hardest hitting comment as who you giving the prize to tonight?
First off, we had at one point we had around 350 watching. So great comments tonight. Glad that everybody is enjoying the Jets' victory over Pomo's Panthers. We're going to give it to Beer League. Beer spelled B33R. Love this comment. KFC seemed to have some extra pepper on his shot tonight. Scheifele had some extra pep in his step, and Bucky had some kind of possessed demon in his soul tonight. He was really good as well. So love that comment, because as far as I'm concerned, those were the three best players in tonight's game. I think we also have to give a shout out to Pierre-Luc Dubois with 3 assists. He was pretty good as well. So Beer League, send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com, EZRA@illegalcurve.com, or you can slide into my DMs on Twitter @ICSEG. For that comment, Tough Duck will send you a nice winter toque.
Which
Or
you need
could
right
use
now.
it because it's kind of chilly outside. Although
I
it's
think
supposed to warm
be
up
like minus 42 or something.
No, it's supposed to be gorgeous this weekend.
this
No,
weekend.
tomorrow,
It's supposed to warm
tomorrow.
up. Yeah, tomorrow's supposed to be cold, and then it's supposed to warm up for the weekend.
It's Tuesday. Yes, I realize it's going to get nicer. That is good, but I'm also thinking I'm taking one day at a time.
You're like the Jets. You're thinking about
Yes,
the day in
the
front of you.
process.
Maybe
I'm thinking
maybe
about the
tomorrow.
process.
You're not worrying about what's going to happen in the future.
As he's living in the moment. That's good. That's a good policy. As you live in the moment, maybe on your own, you can go see Lyle Crocodile after your viewing got interrupted, unfortunately, early when you went this weekend.
It was a good movie. It was fun. It was like it was one of those like musical movies,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with like where there's like songs all the time.
Yes, I understand what musicals are.
I was in it. Like I was actually considering going back by myself and watching it, but I don't think it would be. I don't know if I could ever like live to tell that I went to go see Lyle Crocodile by myself.
Probably that would be crossing a bridge that's hard to come back from when you go see that one.
But I do respect people that go see movies by themselves. Like, why not?
Oh, I used to go to. Are you kidding? It's way better to go see a movie by yourself.
I would love to, but I have 2 young kids and I can't get away from them, so that's never going to happen.
Going to a movie by yourself.
Maybe my kids are in their teens, but not.
Shout out to the old what was that called in Northgate?
Cinema City.
Yeah, the old Cinema City in Northgate. Yeah, it was perfect. Go by yourself. It was fantastic. People know what I'm talking about.
I'm more of a Town 8 guy myself.
That was good. That was a good theater also.
Still
in
there.
any event.
Still there. Still around.
Yeah.
I thought I'm pretty sure the Town 8 closed. I thought.
No, I drive by it all the time.
Town 8 is there.
Oh,
Still
okay.
there.
I thought it
Pretty
might
sure
have
Jurassic
closed.
Park is still playing there.
Maybe it closed for COVID. I think that might have been what happened. It closed for COVID, and I'm not sure if I didn't realize that it'd come back.
I feel like Drew was a Dance Revolution type of guy. Like when he went to go see a movie, he would play Dance Revolution at Cinema City 8.
100%.
I did not. I have no dance rhythm, and I know that. I don't need an arcade game to remind me that I have no rhythm. It's
by the way,
more than enough to know on my own.
Got to mention, Connor Hellebuck played his 400th game today, and let me tell you, this is pretty impressive. Franchise leader in wins, 213, shots against, 12,233, saves, 11,210, save percentage, 916, and shutouts, 31. And fun fact, since he came into the league in 2015-16, no NHL goalie has played more games, faced more shots, made more saves, or picked up as many shutouts for their team.
See, Brent is telling me I'm right. I knew the town closed. He's saying it.
Did you just ignore
the town cinema closed, not the town.
No, I know the town cinema closed. Yeah, I ignored all. I saw your tweet.
Winnipeg didn't.
Sorry,
close.
that was good factoids. As he backed me up, that was some good factoids.
I'd love to go see a movie with
Connor
Brent
Hellebuck.
Bellamy.
Well, I've lost this show. This show's over.
Don't worry, Dave.
I'll get in touch with Brent. We'll go see a nice
All right,
movie.
Phil. You know what? I don't really need you two bozos, to be honest with you. You guys are extraneous as far as I'm concerned. But I got Phyllis in the chat. She's paying attention. That's all that matters. Thank you, Phyllis.
We have another opportunity.
Well, more importantly,
Yes.
I also got a T-Cone of Paulie telling me nice stats. So you know what? You guys can go blow smoke.
That's okay. We will go blow smoke until
Or
Thursday
as Drew
night.
once said, go suck a lollipop.
You can do both of those things. You can blow smoke and suck
Actually,
a lollipop.
I got lollipops from Turkison's in the kitchen, Ezzy, if you want to go grab some.
Never understood that because a lollipop is like that's not an insult. Like
No, it's not a lollipop. Sorry, I've got
lollipops are
suckers.
delicious.
I don't have lollipops. I have suckers. The old timey suckers that Drew, from the 20s that you used to experience.
I feel like a sucker for sitting here and continuing to listen to this. I got to be honest. Thursday night, that's when we're next in action. It's a doubleheader. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday morning, and then Sunday evening. So a plenty of Illegal Curve coming your way. We'll take tomorrow off, which will be nice, but then we'll be right back at it for 4 in 4 because that's how we roll here on the Illegal Curve post-game show and the Illegal Curve hockey show and the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. And of course,
Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to go to Home Depot tomorrow.
I wonder when you're going to stop interrupting me. It's just really what I want to know. I'm hoping
Drew, people want a Manuk Moose minute.
There's no Manuk minute. There wasn't a Moose game since our last minute. You can't have a Manuk Moose minute. I got to go. I got things I got to do. You guys
you got nowhere to be.
I do have somewhere to be. Laura's leaving town tomorrow. I'd like to go say goodbye to her
Well,
before
what you
she
should
leaves.
do, you know what actually we should do, Ezzy, is we should get Drew to do his, like, we'll have like a fake live. Like Drew will end the show, but then you and I, we won't actually hit the end broadcast. We'll just keep
You guys
rolling.
could just keep going without me.
Yeah.
Is basically what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
in that
but,
case,
but it's always funny when people send that to me, say that, and then I start the process. I'm like, wait, have we done a Manuk Moose minute? Has there been a Moose game since the last time we did this show? I think there has, hasn't there?
no, we did a show Sunday. The Moose played Saturday.
I'm aware.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear that we
I
did the Manuk
I want
Moose
to give
minute.
the people
Dave,
what they want. But
I'm
there's
going to
nothing.
side with Drew on this one just because we're an hour 10 in here and we all have to work in the morning. But I think because Dave didn't get one tonight, I do think he should get an extra long one on Thursday night.
That's fine.
Yes.
Thursday, I got
I'll
enough
talk,
time
I'll
on
talk
my
about the
hands.
Moose practice on the ODR.
You do that. That's something
Those
for people
pictures
to
look
forward
phenomenal,
to.
by the way, from Austin Saragusa.
Yeah, they
At
were
Camp
fantastic.
Manitou. That looked awesome.
Yeah. They were. It was good stuff. And all right, that's it.
That's
I'm
it.
good.
Big
I'm
thank you to
good.
everybody for joining us this evening on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Jets 5-2 victors over the Florida Panthers. A big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, the website, A Possibility, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway. They're the official sponsor here of this post-game show. Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve hockey. We're next in action Thursday night. The Jets are in St. Louis to face the Blues, I think for the first time this year. I don't recall a game against the Blues unless I missed one earlier in the year.
Jordan Bennington's going to be starting, and he's actually going to be wearing boxing gloves. He's not going to have a blocker and a glove. He's just going to have full boxing gloves ready to just punch whoever comes in his crease.
Well, look, we talked about that on Saturday's show, and Craig Berube on Saturday night called out his goalie for doing that, for saying enough already.
Well,
just
that
focus on
slash was
stopping the puck.
ridiculous. That was one of the cheapest things I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, he's lost. I mean, he's more interested in just trying to be, Ron Hextall,
Was he in that tonight? Was he in that tonight?
1986.
Was he in that tonight? I know they beat the Islanders. Well, it was crazy. I think it was like a 6-4 game. So I don't know.
I'm not sure if he was in net tonight or not, but if he was, I'll tell you what, if the goalie didn't get a penalty, that means he wasn't in net. It seems like he's taking minor pay. He got a 10-minute misconduct. When does a goalie get a 10-minute misconduct? That doesn't happen. It's ridiculous.
Since, as you said, Ron Hextall, pretty much.
Yeah, probably exactly right. In any event, that'll be topic of conversation for Thursday night, and we'll do a Manuk Moose Minute on Thursday night as well to make amends to Dave M. Thanks to everybody for joining us tonight. The Jets victors 5-2 over the Florida Panthers. Until Thursday night and the Illegal Curve post-game show then, we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching.